Hello, and welcome to another video course on the Miraf SongBook program. In today's episode, we will look at transposition and some music theory. If each song has the chords set up correctly, saved in the text with each chord separately marked in square brackets, you can transpose it in the program. So, if I transpose the song up or down in a simple way, you'll see that it changes by half steps. With this icon, I can always set the default transposition, so if I transpose to E, for example, and click on the default transposition, it will always return to the original. Using this icon, I can set any transposition I want, allowing me to quickly jump to G major, for example, and you'll see that the song is transposed to G major. This is only a temporary transposition used for training mode, and here we have an option for permanent transposition, which is saved permanently and changed directly in the editing mode. We have already talked about this in a previous video course. So, these are the basic transposition options. Another transposition feature here is using a capo. You can specify which fret you will place the capo on, and the song will automatically change. For example, if I set the capo to the 3rd fret, it's marked here, and you can see that the song is transposed as if the capo were placed on the 3rd fret, playing these chords to match the original key. This simple approach allows you to work with the capo. You can also turn the capo off if you don't want to use it and want to set the default key. I'll now return to the default key and show you in the song editing mode that you can set the fret on which the capo is placed by default for the song. This is a permanent setting for the song. You'll see that it transposes to A, as if we had the capo on the 3rd fret. If this box is red, it indicates that you're using a capo, meaning the original key is C major, but you're playing in A major because the capo is on the 3rd fret. These are the basics of transposition settings, and now let's delve into more details. In this tab, Transposition and Music Theory, we have a transposition settings section. Here, you can choose which transposition you want to use. This means you have options like the standard European notation with sharps or European with flats, as well as American with sharps or flats. You can also set a custom transposition, specifying, for example, D sharp here, F sharp there, but maybe marking this one as E flat, and you can set how to convert chords like B flat, B, or H. Here you can also adjust additional settings for the default transposition, such as whether to transpose the notes, transpose images of chords, or transpose chords according to the capo setting. You can specify which separator to use if the program replaces spaces where there is a long chord. For instance, if there's a long chord and there isn't enough space for more chords side by side, the program adds a separator to separate the text so that chords don't overlap. Here you can also set how you convert the B chord, because this differs between European and American notations. In Europe, H is more commonly used, whereas in America, B flat is preferred, so you can still adjust the B conversion according to your preference. You can see that there are plenty of options for additional transposition settings. Additionally, you can set a custom transposition for each song if desired, choosing between European, American, or your custom settings. Apart from the global settings, you can also choose the default transposition for each song if needed. Another transposition option is in this Cadence tab, where you can transpose according to this circle, showing you an overview of subdominant, dominant, and tonic chords for both major and minor scales. You can adjust the transposition using the scroll wheel or by switching between options. You can also see the chords that are most commonly used in the selected key. For example, if I click on A, the circle moves, showing that in the key of A major, this is the main chord. The green one is the subdominant, and the blue one is the dominant. You can disable the dominant 7th. The same applies to the minor scale. If I set it to a minor, you'll again see it's subdominant and dominant. You can move the circle forward or backward or jump to the default setting, and you can transpose according to the circle. For example, if I want to play in G major, the most common chords would be G major, C major, and D major. If I click on Transpose, You'll see that it transposed exactly as I said it. In this tab, we also have note notation. It's not an interactive tool but rather shows different ways to notate notes, not just on the scale but also how various notes correspond on the keyboard, guitar, and bass, including how the note is written and how it actually sounds. This applies to guitar tablature and bass tablature to show which tone is being played and how it sounds in reality. It's a graphical overview of music theory. Here, you also have options related to MIDI devices, which the program frequently works with, showing various ways MIDI instructions are labeled for different devices, such as Yamaha, or other programs with different MIDI terminology. Then there's tempered tuning, which acts as a tuner where you can click on a specific note and hear the tones played. You can choose whether you want a generated tone or one played by an instrument. You can also select the instrument that plays the tone and adjust the duration of the tone. For example, if you tune by ear or need to find a specific note to check whether your instrument is in tune or if the tone matches another instrument, you can use this tool. It can be particularly helpful if you play multiple instruments, such as a clarinet tuned differently than a flute or piano. This way, you can align the individual keys and listen to see if the tone truly corresponds to the intended tuning. We also have a piano here that allows you to play your music. If you're trying out a song, you can play it on this virtual piano without having to open or go to a real piano, giving you the opportunity to test out basic melodies. Next, we have a selection of various instrument tunings. If you switch between different instruments or need to use a different type of tuning, for example, open G or open D for guitar, drop D, and so on, these basic tunings are pre-configured here. You can also switch settings for instruments like the ukulele, banjo, mandolin, bass, violin, and others, providing a comprehensive overview of commonly used tunings. Another very useful tool is the fretboard and scales. This feature can be accessed from the menu or via this icon. It displays the fretboard for a guitar or other instrument you select. You can choose from 4-stringed, 5-stringed instruments, etc., even a banjo with this setup. Let's demonstrate on a guitar. Here, you can configure the tuning of the strings and their height. You can play each string, and it will sound, with all the notes shown on the fretboard. If you click on the Basic setting, it reverts to the default, but you can also choose individual notes. The same notes are marked in color, so, for example, you can see that the D notes are all marked in blue, showing exactly where they appear on the fretboard. Of course, you can click on a note to play it, and it will sound. You can also select which instrument plays the sound. A useful function allows you to highlight just one note on the fretboard. This is helpful if you're trying out a riff and need to see exactly where to play the notes. For instance, you can mark all the E notes or all the G notes to see them highlighted on the fretboard. If it appears differently, it indicates an open string. The basic button always returns you to the original settings. You can also choose how the notes are marked. Currently, I have the scale set to A major, but you can select any other scale here. You can choose its pitch, whether it is major, minor, pentatonic, and so on. The scale's notes are displayed, and you can play them. There is also an option to automatically display the scales that are used in the selected song. If you switch the scale to C major, for example, the fretboard updates to show the C major scale, and if you change it to D major, it will update accordingly. This icon allows you to compare the notes and their relationships. Besides the predefined scales, you can create your own by naming them and setting the exact intervals. For instance, a major scale has intervals of 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, which are displayed here, allowing you to define your custom scale. You can save up to 100 scales in the program, add or delete them, and adjust the tool as needed. These settings can be saved so that your preferences are remembered next time. If you exit without saving, the program will ask if you want to save your changes. Another feature available is intervals and chords. Intervals represent more complex music theory that some musicians may know and others may not. This tool provides an overview of all possible intervals. You can set the starting note, such as E, and it will display the full range. You can click on specific notes to see what chord they form or select a chord to see its notes. Since I have E selected, it shows E, G sharp, and B, or H, depending on your settings. You can also see how a minor chord is formed. Additional options allow you to see chords like E7 or E6 in relation to the basic minor chord. If I select C major, for instance, it displays the chord's tones on the fretboard. I can also explore modifications such as C4, C7, or C9, seeing the notes that make up each chord. You can toggle between major and minor, manually mark notes, and if they correspond to a chord, the chord will be identified. You can also view various scales, both major and minor, to see which notes they include. Here, you can choose how to transpose, using sharps, flats, or the program's default settings. You can enable a 7-note limit for auto-selection. If the selected notes do not match a chord, you can clear them and try a different combination to identify a chord. This tool is highly useful for more advanced musicians interested in understanding the relationships between chords and individual notes. And at the end of this video course, we will look at how to work with individual chords and select different chord databases. I will choose this tab here and open the chord editor. Here, you can see the chord editor directly. In this section, you can switch between the instruments you are working with. You can select chords for guitar, ukulele, mandolin, banjo, tenor banjo, or power chords. You can also define your custom 4-string, 5-string, 6-string, or 3-string instruments. I'll demonstrate this now on a standard guitar. Here, I have switched the chord database, and you can see all the chords stored in the database. There are a lot of them. When you click on one, it will be displayed on the fretboard. You can quickly select a chord. For example, if I type C, you will see that it automatically jumps to the C chord. You can also specify which fret it is on. The program contains only the basic chords, but you can add your custom chords to this tool. Here, you can see the chord diagram and the tuning of the given instrument. If I switch to the ukulele, you can see that the tuning changes accordingly. The same goes for the banjo. I'll switch back to the guitar. Here, you can directly set the desired chord by checking the boxes. You can specify which fret the chord starts from. You can choose to hide this chord from the text if you don't want it to be displayed. For instance, if you know certain chords well, like A, C, or D, you can hide them so they won't appear in the chord settings. If I choose the C chord and indicate that I don't want it to be shown, save it, and replace the current chord or save it as a new one, you will see that when I refresh the song, the C chord is no longer displayed because it is a familiar chord, and I don't need to see it. I can re-enable the C chord again. If you want to create a new chord, you can click New, and a blank chord will appear. You can then name it, select the appropriate settings, and save it as a new chord. This will add the chord to the database. You can always play the chord to check if it's correct. You can also insert symbols such as brackets, where you can write different indexes or numbers. The program allows you to use chords with an index, so, for example, you can create 3 different versions of the C chord and separate them with an index. You can create a C chord with index 1, another with index 2, and a third with index 3, and then specify in the text which version should be shown. Here, you can also adjust the tuning for your custom instruments, such as 3-string, 4-string, 5-string, or 6-string instruments, which are all available here, and you can configure the tuning for them. If a chord is displayed in a different color, it indicates that it shares the same name but differs in either fret or finger positioning. You can also delete a chord from the database. If you select Delete Chord, the program will ask for confirmation before removing the chord, leaving you with only the desired one. This tool allows you to fully customize your chords and chord labels, not just for guitar but for all other instruments, and these chords can be used throughout the program. Firstly, they appear in this section if enabled, or in this section where you can search for a specific chord. When you click, the chords are displayed. You can also search for a specific chord here. Play it. And use this tab to show or hide the sidebar as needed. Thank you for watching and goodbye.